It's quite unsafe for a woman to live in this world. The crimes against them are increasing day by day. They depend on and truly believe the cops to save their lives. But what if the same cops become the predator? Do you think there are perverts in the police department? Are they more dangerous than the criminals? On number 3, we have Braulio Gonzalez.
On the wrong side of the law, accused of a despicable crime.
This veteran officer allegedly fondled a little girl, and that child is no stranger to him.
Braulio was a resident of Miami, Dade, and was a veteran police lieutenant. The heinous act took place in 2018 when he kidnapped and molested a child. The survivor was a child who was related to him. He took advantage of their family relations and molested the girl since she turned 8 years old. He continuously abused her for 2 years. At last, the survivor spoke out, and the real fact of Braulio was revealed. When the survivor was just 8 years old, Gonzalez took his gun and pointed it at her. She was then made to comply with his conditions, and then he kept on molesting her till her parents came back home. He threatened her several times after that to make sure she doesn't utter a word to her parents. The poor child was traumatized and she lived in fear till 2018. When the case was taken to court, it was revealed that Braulio used to take the girl to his home as well and made her strip down all her clothes before him. He then touched her private parts forcefully. Her screams were silenced by that television's volume, and she was mentally broken by this heinous act of this pervert officer. As the case continued in the court, another child came forward, speaking out about what Braulio did to her as well. She survived the perverted act of this veteran officer. He used to creep her out by watching her shower. She was only 9 years old at that time. Braulio showed aggression towards women in general. He attacked 3 of his ex-girlfriends. They all suffered severe physical injury. He used to hit them repeatedly and broke the nose of one of his ex-girlfriends. They all came forward after hearing about the case where he molested a minor. They were all happy that finally the world got to see the real face of Braulio. The acts of Braulio did not suit that of a police officer. He has to treat people with respect and make sure that they are living life safely. But instead, his predator behavior was shown to the minors. He targeted them and molested them for years. He held a 9-year-old girl at gunpoint and molested her brutally. When the decision of the court was declared, everyone was beyond shocked. They never expected Braulio to walk free. Well, he was not fully free, but the court ordered a house arrest that too paid leave from his job. The court turned a blind eye to his wrongdoing. He was overjoyed as he thought that he escaped the prison, but fate had another plan. After a long legal battle, Braulio got the punishment he deserved. He was sentenced to jail. He would serve life in prison. Braulio never expected to receive such a punishment. He thought that he could evade the law of the country and take advantage of many other children. None of his plans worked, and you can see the aggression and disappointment on his face. The prosecution lawyer Natalie Cinder called Braulio a dangerous person, and the world agrees with her. He could hurt a lot of girls if he roamed around freely with the power of a police officer. Braulio never apologized to the survivors. He had no remorse, and he stood there in court being proud of his deeds. He was given several opportunities to apologize, but he refused every single one of them. He didn't want to show that he regrets it. On number 2, we have the Timothy Sadler Jr. Polk County Police Department received a call from a mother of a 9-year-old to file a complaint regarding the inappropriate photos she found in her daughter's phone. The mother was beyond shocked when she found nude photos of a man in her 9-year-old child's phone. She wanted to file a complaint as soon as possible and find out the sender. The Polk County Department didn't have to spend time investigating, as they soon realized that the criminal they were looking for was one of them, but an officer of another department. They couldn't believe that such a person was working for the state to ensure safety. Well, he was not in his right mind and forced a 9-year-old to send her nude photos. What kind of police officer would say such a thing? Sadler met the child on an interactive online game platform. The Wolf was the game they played, and Sankey talked to her in the name of Jade, an 11-year-old kid. The poor child didn't realize the trap she was setting foot on. Sadler planned to get nude photos from her and threaten her to meet with him for a sexual encounter. He made a detailed plan step by step, and he just needed to work it out. He created multiple accounts and names to talk with the child and earn her trust. Apart from Jade, Sadler created a profile pretending to be a 31-year-old Jason. He talked to the child, introducing him as a close friend of Jade's father. The child believed him as Jay confirmed that it was her dad's close friend. The child didn't know that behind the screen, it was Sadler who talked to her and not Jade or Jason. Both these people were creations of Sadler, and they didn't exist in real life. Sadler slowly started grooming the girl. He talked through the account of Jade and told the girl that she has a sexual relationship with Jason and it's fun. The girl was uncomfortable at first, but believed the 11-year-old Jade. He started sending pornographic images to the girl from the account of Jason and started talking to get in a sexually explicit way. He thought that she would soon fall into the trap and meet up with him. The 9-year-old survivor started sending her nude photos, and Sadler was happy to see her falling prey to him. He stored all the images to use against her in the future. During this time, he was going to his office and acting as a good police officer. No one suspected him and everyone believed him to be this ideal man. They were all unaware of what he does behind his bedroom walls. The 9-year-old child's older sister found out about the sexually explicit texts and pornographic images Sadler sent her. She informed her mother. She called the police immediately. Sadler was arrested and fired from his job immediately. On number 1, we have Trevor Smith. Trevor Smith was working in the Washington State Patrol. He fell for the sting operation and was caught red-handed. In 2022, Trevor was looking for new prey. That's when he met a mother of 2 who was ready to go into an agreement with Trevor for him to have sex with her 2 children, who were only 6 and 11 years old. Trevor was so happy as he thought he would get 2 children to sleep with that too, with their mother's consent. The undercover female officer, who pretended to be the woman selling her kids, realized that Trevor was a pedophile. The Seattle Police Department wanted to catch pedophiles, and they made the undercover police officer place an ad. Trevor was interested in it and contacted the mother without knowing that it was a sting operation. During the conversation, the undercover police officer asked what he would give her in exchange for abusing her 2 children, to which Trevor replied that she could sexually abuse his 9-month-old son. The police department was shocked to read the text, as they can imagine all Trevor would have exchanged for his son. He was unfit to be a father and shows no mercy to his child. Trevor showed up in a hotel room and the undercover police arranged for him as he thought he would sexually abuse 2 children. He even came to the room with contraceptives, which shows that he was prepared to sexually attack 6 and 11-year-old children. Trevor was fired from his job and was sentenced to 10 years in prison, after which he would be released, but he will be under the supervision of the police for 15 years. Do you think this kind of police officer should be declared unfit for service? Should they be punished brutally? Let us know in the comments. Law enforcement agencies serve as the guardians of justice, entrusted with protecting the innocent and maintaining order in society. Despite the good intentions of protecting the law, a shadowy underbelly appears, a hidden world populated by people who violate their pledge and dishonor the badge they wear. These dirty cops seriously jeopardize the foundation of a just and equitable society. What do you think should be the punishment for dirty cops? Watch the video to find out the shameful crimes these officers committed. The first incident is where Atlanta police fired one of their own and then released the officer's body camera footage, allegedly showing her mishandling $500 in cash from a homicide victim's wallet, officials said. Officer Keisha Richburg's bodycam footage, released by the Atlanta Police Department, shows the alleged incident unfolding at the scene of a shooting on Marietta Road near the Inman Rail Yard. And Nur Green, 43, was arrested and booked for murder after he allegedly shot Harris in the head because of an argument, police said. Officer Keisha Richburg was at the scene of a shooting in northwest Atlanta when an EMT handed her the wallet of shooting victim Jamel Harris, 29, who later died at the hospital, authorities said. Bodycam video showed the EMT, Kevin Getter, tucking cash into the wallet's fold and not into the main compartment where cash is usually placed, according to footage posted by the Atlanta Police Department on its YouTube channel. When she handles the wallet in her squad car, The cash cannot be seen in the slot where Gator allegedly had placed the money, the video shows. When Officer Richburg transfers the victim's wallet from her right hand to her left hand, it is readily apparent the money is no longer tucked inside the wallet. A police report on the incident reads, Getter confirmed to internal affairs investigators that he gave Richburg the wallet with cash inside. I'm about 90 sure it was money, because it was kind of like like money would be folded in half. And I can't imagine it being anything else, he said. Later in the video, Richburg is shown surrendering the wallet to another police officer at Grady Memorial Hospital. Tevin Gator told investigators the money was handed over by a bystander who told him the cash belonged to the victim. I shouldn't have been messing with it because it was a crime scene, but it was just habit from not leaving patients' monies and stuff. So I just picked it up and then realized what I did. So I handed it off to the officer, Getter told internal affairs investigators. Witness Leilani Collier said that she turned in the money to police after finding his wallet and informed Harris' wife of the cash. However, police allegedly told Harris' wife, who was pregnant with the couple's second child, that there was no money in the wallet. An Atlanta Police Department spokesperson said that Richburg did not properly account for the money according to the department's policies and procedures, and Atlanta Police Chief Erica Shields fired Richburg. Officer integrity goes to the heart of what we do here every single day, Shields said in a statement. It's imperative the public have trust in our word and our actions. It's extremely disappointing to see the victim of a fatal shooting be victimized twice by the actions of one of our officers. But the Atlanta's police union disputes the department's claim and said Richburg is now in the appeals process that she hopes will reverse her termination. She didn't know money was in there, Vincent Champion, regional director for the International Brotherhood of Police Officers, told NBC News. The union rep insisted the video footage released by the department is inconclusive at best. They haven't proven that she had the money or took the money, Champion said. We don't feel the officer did that. Do you think Richburg is innocent or guilty? Let us know in the comments. The next incident is proof that social media is becoming a menace. TikTok user and police officer Brianna Strauss left netizens disappointed in the police force after speaking about her privileges. In a video, Strauss was seen reminding viewers that she can speed without getting in trouble. She also said that officers can find a reason to pull drivers over if they stay in front of them long enough. The video has led to a lengthy debate about police officers' entitlement, with people taking to Twitter to call her out. Brianna Strauss works with the Federal Way Police Department in Washington State. In the now viral video, she told viewers that the police are above and beyond the law and do not have the same rules as the citizen. This has led netizens to believe that Strauss was abusing her power after she became an authoritarian figure. If we're driving on the freeway in our police car, get the fuck out of our way. Get the fuck out of the way. If you merge and we follow behind you, and we merge too, you're probably in trouble. Best way to find that out is to get the fuck out of the way. I can go 90 miles an hour. You can't. You can't do that. So get the fuck out of the way. If us officers stay behind you long enough, we can find a reason to pull you over, so you might as well get the fuck kick out of the way. The video, which has garnered massive traction on social media, has since been deleted from Brianna Strauss's profile. However, netizens were quick to screen record the video. The video found its way to Twitter as well, where it amassed over 3.5 million views and more than 52.7 thousand likes. Netizens were not pleased to hear the officer's comments, and many were disgusted by her tone and autarkic demeanor. Several internet reasons stated that her behavior of looking untouchable was a reason why they did not believe in the police system. The officer went on to receive a 10-hour suspension, which would mark it as one shift without pay. Additionally, when people learnt of Strauss's suspension of only 10 hours, they were left furious. Many called for the officer to be fired instead of being suspended for such a short duration of time. The Federal Way Police Department conducted an investigation into the video and looked into possible violations of standards. They also looked into the officer's previous disciplinary issues. Commander Kurt Schwann from Federal Way that the police officer did not have previous disciplinary issues. They went on to determine that Strauss broke the department's code of conduct when it came to their social media and personal conduct. Do you think that punishment was enough for the arrogant police officer? The next incident is of a Florida deputy who was caught for drunken driving. According to online booking records maintained by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, Shelby Elise Coniglio, 26, was charged with 1 count of operating a vehicle while intoxicated with a blood alcohol content of 0.15 or more. Florida law presumes someone is too impaired to drive at 0.8. Coniglio served as a constable in the Patrol Operations Department for the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office from September 10, 2018. According to a press release from the Sheriff's Office, St. Petersburg Police stopped Coniglio about 1:37 a.m. at 108th Avenue North and 4th Street North in St. Petersburg. Police said Coniglio showed signs of impairment through slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, and she also struggled to remain steady on her feet, officers noted. Police also said she had an odor of alcohol on her breath. Officers said that Coniglio agreed to perform field sobriety tests, but performed poorly on them, and that she submitted to a breath sample, which indicated she had a blood alcohol concentration above the legal limit. Officers said Coniglio submitted a breath sample that indicated she had a breath alcohol content level of 206/219, according to the Sheriff's Office. Her blood alcohol level was also higher than the state limit of 0.8. Coniglio was arrested and booked into the Pinellas County Jail and was released on her own recognizance. However, per the Sheriff's Office policy, Coniglio's employment was immediately terminated following the arrest. What do you think is the best way to protect citizens from dirty cops like this? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Enforcers of law who are tasked with maintaining public order, protecting individuals and property, and preventing and investigating crimes. That is what being a police officer means, or at least that's what they are trying to do. Instances have aroused where police officers have misused their authority, employed excessive force, and violated people's rights, particularly those from marginalized communities, leading to distrust and fear of law enforcement. Are they subjected to such power? What are the legal repercussions for them? However, and most of all, would they be treated differently when compared to the masses? Join us as we take a closer look at 2 of the most uncanny cases that could make question the judicial system as a whole. Our first case kicks off with the case of Harold Hill, which is just a perfect example of how our justice system can go wrong. This case definitely checks all the boxes, including a horrific rape and murder, as well as a mishandled conviction, you name it. So then what went about? Let's start with the so-called beacons of justice, Kenneth Bordeaux and John Halloran, the detectives who were assigned to the case and the beacons of law. They were the ones who managed to extract a confession from Peter Williams, who was later discovered to have been in custody when the crime was committed. How did they even produce a fabricated confession from someone who wasn't even present? Hill claims he was physically and mentally tortured until he confessed to crimes he didn't commit. Is this the kind of conduct we anticipate from our law enforcement personnel? The trial itself was held when Hill was 31 years old, despite the fact that he was only 16 at the time of the crime and was therefore tried as an adult. At this point, it's just not fair, and it's incomprehensible what Hill is going through. Given that neither of the defendants had a criminal history prior to the incident, this is an intriguing move by the prosecution. Hill and Young were given a life without parole sentence after the jury found them guilty of the murder. However, 13 long years later, DNA tests showed that neither of the defendants' cellular components found under Kathy Morgan's fingernails, nor the hair found at the crime scene matched either of them. Imagine the sheer suffering Hill endured for something he didn't do. It continues to amaze me how Hill managed to hang on to his life. The prosecutors disputed the findings despite this evidence, claiming that the hairs had nothing to do with the crime and that the cellular material might have come from sweat or drool that the recovery teams had left behind. Even in the face of such overwhelming evidence, it's shocking that the prosecutors were so resistant. Young was killed in a hit-and-run incident shortly after Harold and Young were finally let out of jail. This almost leads us to believe that this is almost a plot to clip both of them. Hill, on the other hand, accused the city of Chicago, the police, and the 2 detectives involved in the case of coercing a confession and violating his civil rights in a complaint he filed against them. The case was resolved for $1.25 million, of which Hill received $500,000 and the remainder was paid to the lawyers. It's surprising that the detectives were only asked to make a pitiful $7,500 payment for their roles in this whole fiasco. You think that's all? Wait until you hear this. It should be noted that Hill is currently serving a 27-year sentence after being found guilty once more of an unrelated charge of armed robbery. In spite of this, it is obvious that Harold Hill was let down by the legal system in the past. This case emphasizes the need for justice system reform to prevent erroneous convictions and make sure that those who abuse their power are held accountable. Starting with the investigation and continuing through the trial and conviction, the Harold Hill case is a tragedy of errors. Hill was wrongfully detained for 13 years, and because the system made him a criminal, he was never given the opportunity to adapt to life outside of prison. He was completely screwed over by the system, and the police only received $7,500 each. When police officers commit acts like the ones they did, they should be imprisoned for a minimum of the same amount of time as the victims they imprison. Up next, we have an oddball in the form of Sergeant Mario Cardona versus Daniel Garza. After being thrown and pinned to the ground, Daniel Garza was rendered helpless. Officer Mario Cardona, a longtime friend of Garza's, was on the verge of breaking his wrist. Confronting a criminal and keeping him confined is one thing, but putting a civilian without a reason is shocking. Garza recalled, "I was trying to be a man and trying to hold in the pain, but man, that wrist lock hurts. He's just bending it and bending it." But why did Cardona go so far as to nearly break his wrist? His actions were apparently driven by rage toward Garza, whom he accuses of attempting to kidnap his stepdaughter. But are cops subjected to such an authority in the first place? It appears that the two men had a long history together because Garza had once dated Naomi Villanueva, the stepdaughter of Cardona. Villanueva left her parents' home to live with a friend because the relationship had reached its breaking point. However, Villanueva was allegedly taken from her friend's home in May 2015 by Garza without her consent and brought to her parents' residence in Whittier, where Cardona lived across the street. Garza was performing pilates in his garden when Cardona saw him and told him to go to the street. Cardona started his assault as soon as Garza sat down. Garza claimed that he was not the aggressor, and a neighbor who saw the incident attested to Garza's innocence. As soon as they arrived on the scene, the sheriff's deputies saw redness on Garza's face, bruises and abrasions on his knees, and redness on his wrist. After Garza complained about Cardona, the city of Los Angeles, Chief Beck, and Cardona were named as defendants in a federal lawsuit. Garza claimed that he had been the victim of a false arrest, an arbitrary search and seizure, overuse of force, an assault and battery, negligence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The trial also featured a video of the incident captured by one of Garza's neighbors. They had made up a story of what had happened to make him look like a hero, and me look like a criminal, Daniel Garza. The hearing was presided over by U.S. District Judge Stephen V. Wilson, who heard former Deputy City Attorney Michael Amarian speak in defense of the city. Cardona was found to have acted maliciously as an off-duty officer by the jury, and on June 26, 2017, he was ordered to pay Garza $210,000 in damages. In addition, the court added $664,000 in attorney's fees and $26,000 in post-trial costs. The city of L.A. refused to take responsibility for Cardona's actions and even refused to indemnify the officer, forcing him to pay for the charges out of his pocket. Jim DeSimone, Garza's attorney, claims, "This is the problem with the LAPD. This is why people are out on the street." The incident serves as an example of how police can abuse people and get away with it. In this instance, however, Garza was able to confront the authorities who had infringed upon his rights and prevail in his lawsuit against Cardona. It is clear that police officers cannot get away with using excessive force against citizens after the jury found Cardona guilty of malice. It is important to note that this case also emphasizes how crucial it is for citizens to be aware of their rights and to speak out against law enforcement when they believe those rights have been violated. Garza's decision to accuse Cardona of using excessive force and file a complaint against him demonstrates that people can take legal action to stop police brutality. What do you think of these cases? Which do you think is most unfair? Sound off in the comments below and make sure to let us know if we missed out on anything. While you are at it, make sure to hit that subscribe and leave a like to never miss an update from us. Thanks for watching.